Packing for my upcoming workshop in England. First, let me talk to you about the paints. So, these are the paints that I'm planning to bring. For the way that I paint, these are way too much. We're going to be painting for 10 days in Jessica Henry Gray's workshop, and this is going to be in England. You can check her website, and I will put a link below. So first I want to tell you that I use water-soluble oils. Water-soluble oils are not acrylics. They are not watercolors. They're oils. And a lot of people have a lot of questions about the water-soluble oils and if they have the same quality or not, etc. So first of all, I use 3 brands basically: the Lucas Berlin, the Artisan Winsor Newton, and Cobra. Cobra are probably, they're the most expensive of these 3, although all of the water solubles are less expensive than regular oils. And what happens is that they dry, slower. So when I travel, I like to use these because they dry, within 1 or 2 days after I paint. So it makes things easier for me to pack. And I'll show you how I pack. So what colors do I take? The titanium white, in both Lucas Berlin and Artisan, take up to 4 days to dry. So I contacted Winsor Newton. They do have a fast drying medium which is water soluble, and they recommended me to mix it with my color, in this case the white, half and half. So what I did, I mixed it on my palette, extremely well mixed, so that you don't have one end with medium and one end with titanium white. Mix it well, and then I filled up these tubes that I got in Jerry's Artorama. So I'm bringing 3 full tubes of white and 1 that I used in France. In France I used 1 complete and this end. I think this is going to be way too much because I don't like to paint very thick when I travel. If I need to add more white, I'll do it back in the studio, so my packing is easier and the paints are dry. But using this fast drying medium is good. If you use regular oils, I understand there's the Griffin Alkyd brand. You can get your white already pre-mixed as a fast drying white. So because we don't have that option with the water solubles, I made my own. Next would be the yellows. So I'm having this Lucas Berlin. This is the lemon yellow, and this is the cadmium yellow light. Now I like the hues because I like to avoid any potential toxic elements. I know that cadmiums are beautiful, but they can get to the kidneys, they can be absorbed, and long term they can produce diseases. Of course, if people know how to use them and they avoid getting into tiny cuts in your fingers by using gloves or washing your hands very thoroughly, I don't think it's a problem. For the amateur painter, maybe you don't need to worry that much because you're not going to be that much in touch, but I just prefer to avoid the problem altogether by using hues. Now, if you notice, one of these yellows is cool, the other one is warm, and I just pay attention. If I need to make a mix with yellow, either to the orange or to the greens, is it in the shadow? Should it be cool? Or is it in the light? Should it be warm? And that's the only thing I keep in mind when I have my 2 yellows. My 2 reds are vermilion hue and the permanent alizarin crimson. The pigments that all of these brands use for their water-soluble brands are the same pigments that they use for their regular brand. And I just love the Winsor Newton permanent alizarin crimson. It's a beautiful transparent color that has a lot of glow. The vermilion, if you don't have vermilion hue, you could use cadmium yellow light. This is a little bit darker and a little bit less yellow than the cadmium red light, but I do like the vermilion. It was used in the Renaissance, especially by Venetians, but they used the true vermilion, which is made out of mercury, and of course that's very toxic. So if you get vermilion, true vermilion, make sure you follow the instructions for safety on how to handle it. If you get the hue, you don't have to worry about it. So again, we have a warm and a cool version of the red. For the blues, I like to use ultramarine. The ultramarine blue has a violet or red bias, whereas the cerulean blue that I like to use is a little bit more of in the greenish or yellowish bias. So again, I have the two versions of the blue, and this is lighter than this. So you need to get something dark, very dark, you can use the ultramarine. And if you have something lighter, cerulean blue is beautiful for the horizon area on the sky, for some areas of the sea or the waters that you're painting. These two, to me, are good enough, two kinds of blue. Now, I also have added the phthalocyanin green. This is a color that I love. You need to learn how to use it. If you use it a lot, if you're used to more natural greens, you're not gonna like this. It looks very, I don't know, like kryptonite, very non-natural. But if you mix it, for instance, with orange, which is another color I have, although I can make orange with my vermilion and my warm yellow. But anyway, if you mix phthalocyanin green with orange, it makes a beautiful green, very natural green. So use it, learn to use it. And the alternative of this is what a lot of people use, is viridian green. And finally, the earth colors. The only earth color that I like and I love, actually, is ochre. So the typical earth colors that you will have are the sienna, could be raw sienna or burnt sienna. So what are they? Well, they're not only earth colors because they're in the earth, but they're truly the earth of the town called Siena in Italy. If you walk there and you look at the earth, that's the earth they use. You use a mill to break the granules very, very fine, and then linseed oil to dilute it. If you burnt the soil before you mix it with linseed oil, you have burnt sienna. And if you didn't, you have raw sienna. The other color that's an earth color is umber. It comes from Umbria, also in the north of Italy. And it's exactly the same. You get the soil from Umbria, which is in Tuscany. And if you burn it before you mix it with linseed oil and mill it and then mix it with linseed oil, then you will have burnt umber. And if you didn't burn it, then you have raw umber. Ochre is in the soil everywhere in the world. It's almost the most common soil element. It's the one where we get ochre. There's actually documented Neanderthal bones from burials that, or from where skeletons have been found, that have ochre in there because it gives kind of a glow. And ochre was also used in most cave paintings. In some areas it's more reddish, and in some other areas it's more what we know as yellow ochre. So you can have red ochre, and that depends where in the world you're getting the soil from. I love it. It gives a beautiful golden glow. Mixed with white, it gives a beautiful sunny kind of light white color that has this this very nice and earthy and warm color. So that's my 10th color. To make all of these products water soluble, I just want to give you a very short explanation. So these are oils. All of these brands use exactly the same pigments that they use for their regular brands. To make them soluble in water, they modify the linseed oil that all of these pigments are diluted in. So all of these pigments are basically powder, and you mix them with linseed oil to make the oil paints. Oil does not mix with water. They don't. So how do you make oil and water mix? You mix the oil and the water with what we call an emulsifier. An emulsifier is a molecule that on one end is going to link to the lipid or the oil, and on the other is water soluble. So this molecule now brings the two together. And when the water evaporates, it takes the emulsifier with it and leaves the linseed oil. So in this case, once the paints dry, they're exactly the same paints as if they had not been water soluble. I know that's a long explanation, but I always like to give it. Because a lot of people think they're worse quality, and they're not. They are cheaper, but they're not worse quality. And one of the great advantages is that I can wash all of my materials, brushes and palettes and even my hands, just with soap and water. I don't need any solvents. I'm very sensitive to breathing solvents. The most dangerous ones to me are the odorless that a lot of people like, because even though you cannot smell them, you are breathing them. And those solvents don't like our lungs too much. So in my case, I get very bad headaches. So I prefer to just have everything is water-based. My studio, you can breathe the linseed oil because it does smell like linseed oil, but it's not harmful at all. When I pack, this goes in the suitcase with the information of what this is. So I have Winsor Newton Artisan and Lucas Berlin. They are water mixable oils. And I have the flash points in here. And basically the flash point is telling everybody this is not flammable. I always pack and put this on the top of the suitcase. If the TSA or agents in the airports where you travel need to open your suitcase, they see this immediately. Of course, the flash points and the information is in the tubes also, so they know exactly that this is not going to be a problem in the suitcase. So if you counted, and if you didn't count also, there's 10 colors here. Of course, they're the same, either you count or not. So why did I choose those 10? Besides having one version of each color in warm and cool and a few additional ones, it's because of this beautiful box and paint pochade box. I have another video where I explain it. The key point here is that they have this paint storage system that has, yes, you guessed it, 10 slots. So my idea is to put one of a large amount. This actually holds a lot. I don't paint too thick, and especially when you are plein air painting, you don't want to bring too big canvases. Well, maybe you do, but I don't. I like to capture the light, and I like to capture the composition quickly, so I use small size canvases, and I don't use that much paint. If I want to do impasto back home, I can do it, but by using small amounts of paint, they dry faster. So bottom line is you fill up each one of these with the 10 colors that I showed you, and when you cover it, you can put clove oil here, which is in the instructions, but they actually say that if you close it and you keep it in the freezer, you don't need the oil. So I don't need to worry about adding oil in here, because I can fill it up before we leave, and then I can just have it closed, if I can get it to close, of course. I've done this so many times, and of course I was doing the wrong end. You do the right end, it closes really quickly. Sometimes it's good to make these mistakes in videos, so you know, I mean, obviously it does close very quickly as long as you put it in the right end. Then you just slide it in this slot where it goes, and then you just close your box and paint pochade, and this is ready to go. This has the paints that I need, the palette. Like I said, I have another video where I have that. So I don't need to carry this in my bag every single day. This is way too much paint for a one-day painting. Even if you're a very productive painter, you won't use this tube. Actually, I think that for the 10 days, I'm going to be coming back with more than half of these tubes anyway. But this stays in the place where we are going to be staying overnight every day. And this I take with me in my bag. What else do I take? Of course, I need to take brushes. I normally use one or two brushes in the painting, but I like to have, you know, flats and then filberts. And I like to have big ones, sometimes to begin my painting, or if you want to tone it, you might want to have a bigger brush. And then the smaller brushes are really to make the rest of the painting. And I do have one knife. I don't paint with a knife. This I basically use for cleaning the palette. So when I don't have any more space, I will clean an area of the palette, and that's what it goes. This goes also in the suitcase, and then it goes in my bag every day. It's really not heavy. That's why I like these canvas brush holders, because you can wrap it and put it where the water bottle goes in your backpack every day, or you can put it flat in the backpack, wherever it fits very easily. The other thing that I take is, of course, a tripod. I have another video where I show how I use this tripod for that pochade box, and the tripod can fit very easily in a backpack with me. So what else do I take? I've just made this little plastic portfolio that I have. It's not heavy, and what I've put in here are things that I would need with that pochade box to bring with me. Now I can take this plastic bag with me, or I can just empty it, put it in the backpack in the different pouches that I have for it when I go plein air painting. Either way, this is for me fundamental. I don't actually use that much water. I don't like to dilute my paints, but it was a free gift from the Box and Paint, and it's always good to have a little bit, just in case you do need to clean your brush a little bit more when you don't want to get a muddy color. So this is going to be very useful. It's very light. This I got in Amazon a long time ago. I've been using this a lot. So of course you've got your color wheel, and you know, I used to always think that I know the color wheel, I don't need one, but it depends on how you want to paint. For instance, you say, oh, I want to do a triadic color scheme in my painting, so I want to stick with secondary colors. You have the triad right here. Is the orange, the green, and the violet. But if you want to go a triadic that moves a little bit, so you can do the yellow green, and then you know that you need the red orange, and you need the blue violet. So to me, it just, if you're trying to learn like I am, and you have a theme for every time that you go, which I highly recommend, it's worked for me a lot. You can play with saying, let me just do a split complementary. So yellow and the split complementary would be, instead of the violet, would be a red violet and blue violet. You can learn about all of these color schemes in the web. There's fantastic teachers in YouTube, but that's a reason why I actually like to have it as a reference. So it's very useful, and as you can see, I've used it a lot. It's laminated, so I can easily clean this. I haven't. The other thing is a viewfinder. To me, the viewfinder is useful, although you should not be restricted by it. This is what Jessica Henry Gray always teaches me. If you have a composition and you know where to put your elements, but there's an element outside your view that you are looking at when you're in plein air, it's really hard to not see everything. So if you say, oh gosh, I really wanted to put that, you know, element that's in here, I wanted to put it here, go ahead and put it. What is important is that your composition works and that you're happy with it. But the viewfinder, for me, it's useful to place things. And this is probably the most useful of all things, is the grayscale. So it has a hole, so you can compare when you're plein air painting how dark or how light things are, because everything is relative. So if you have something that looks very bright by another, you know, by the side of another bright color, the two of them might actually look either brighter or darker. And it is very good that you use this as a finder. You place it, let's say that you want to see how light or dark this color is, and you compare, and of course as I go closer it changes. That's life. So you might say, well, it's probably on a, maybe, yeah, so maybe a 4, 40%, or yeah, I think it's more like a 40%, but that's the way you use it. So these 3 actually come from Amazon, and they come with a hanging measuring tape. So I've never used the measuring tape, but I hang it on my neck, and it's really useful. I don't think I'm going to carry this time, because I don't think I'm going to need to squeeze the paint of any of those tubes a lot, because almost all the tubes are full. So I don't think I need this extra thing. And of course I use water soluble, so always having something that you can just hang and have at the ready. Doesn't occupy much space, and it's not heavy. Tape is always good to have, you never know. And then in this Montecristo, my father used to smoke this from Cuba, in Havana, Cuba, and I just found this, and it just reminded me of my father. I wished I had kept some of my father's cigar boxes. He gave us a lot to my sister and I for playing, but I don't think we saved any. So I put a little, bottle for, using for my paints. They are water soluble, so if it's very, very hot and they're getting very dry, I can always spray it, or I can spray the canvas. I've explained this before. The box and paint provides the wrench to tighten the hinges in case that they get loose. I also have glue tack. Glue tack is very useful together with the tape. You never know what you might need to tighten or stick together. This is the sleeve envelope that the paint storage came in. And I'm thinking that for the way back home in the check-in luggage, if it still has paint, I saved it, and I'm going to use it to just make sure that paint doesn't go everywhere in my check-in luggage. And this finally is my tiny sketchbook. So getting an idea of what I want to paint in this very small, tiny, just tonal, making sure that your composition is working. So anyway, a little sketchbook. Your sketchbook might be bigger than mine, but I always like to have it handy. So that's what I'm bringing in this little plastic box. I hope I'm not forgetting anything that I need. And because of this particular workshop with Jessica Henry, she has told us that she wants to also have the opportunity to teach us watercolors, and it's been a long time. So this is a little bag that I have put together for watercolors. So I'll show you what I have in here. Box and Paint makes, for that same pochade, makes the watercolor palette and the watercolor storage system. I'll show you, it's really neat. I do have another video where I explain this in a little bit more detail, so you can see the other video that I will put the link in there. So again, there's 10 spaces, and I will be using 10 watercolor colors squeezed in here. You can put water, in this case in the felt rim, and this fits perfectly here. I have my art supply. These are 10 sheets of cold press, acid-free, 300 pounds, 100% cotton watercolor block. And I did do a little swash with my colors. I really like this brand. Oh, I'm sorry, I think, okay, so I was out of frame, but I really like them. They're very bright. They're called Koi colors. And so what I'm going to do is choose 10. This particular system has 10. I don't think I'm gonna need more than 10. And of course I have watercolor. These are smaller brushes, but they're for watercolors. And I also put in this little bag another water bottle, a sponge if I want to lift some paint. And I have a white gouache from Winsor Newton. Because I'm so used to oils, I don't know that I'm going to be able to very effectively leave the page clear color and not use white. So that's why I got the white gouache. I think some people call it the Chinese white. I wanted to show you that for plein air, I have been using this Pissarro butterfly panel. These are very thin, they are very light, and I could actually pack a lot of them last time. I am going to be using the 9x12 size, and what I'm doing is I am using 6 of these boards, and I have taped Centurion from the Centurion pads. I have taped them to the 6 boards. I have a wet panel carrier for 6 panels, but these very thin ones, if I put one on each end at the end of the day, I can fit 10 of these sheets in between. Because my paints dry at most in 2 days, I only need to use the last 2 days to use the Pissarro, and the rest of the days, which are, it's a 9-day of painting, I will be using these sheets. So I can fit more, they will be dry, and I put wax paper or parchment paper in between the surfaces that face each other, and they will come home absolutely okay, no problem. So that's what I'm going to be packing. Some of it, I told you, for my everyday, I am not going to be bringing the heavy wet panel carrier. I'll just show you that I have it already. As I mentioned to you, I have the parchment paper on one end, and I have been able to fit even the complete blocks in here of the pads, and loose pages also. So I have 6 of the butterflies, and I'm bringing about maybe 27 of the papers of the, well, it's linen. There's Centurion for linen painting, but they are loose pages. So I can fit more in only one carrier. Now this is heavy, so this goes in a suitcase, but it doesn't go in my bag every day. In my bag every day, I show you that is going to be the brushes, maybe 2 of these that have the pad for the first days, and the last days is just going to be the butterfly panel. This is the end where you paint. It's a creamy color, not the white color. The white color is the back of them. So I will have like 2 of these, my brushes, my pochette box that has the paints in there, and then I will be bringing my other stuff in this bag. Total weight is going to be much less considering what I had been carrying before, thanks to the box and paint storage system. And of course I can also bring my watercolors every day and just decide if I want to switch the system in the box and paint. It's going to be very easy. So I hope you found this useful, and I try to continue making more videos that are useful for amateur painters. Thank you very much, and please check my channel for other videos.